Let's go!
So, visual history went off pretty well. Some people really liked looking back at a character like Reptile and how dramatically changed Reptile had been over the past, 30 years, which is scary. So, yeah, Reptile's gone through a lot of changes. Number one, we're doing Ermac, right? We're doing Ermac because I feel like where we've gotten to today with Ermac and MK1 is probably the lowest point he's been in, but I don't directly remember every single iteration with a fine-tooth comb. So we're gonna have to go back and do a visual history on Ermac because there is a lot of different interpretations of these characters, and I think Mortal Kombat is a series that really benefits this because in almost every single Mortal Kombat game, almost every single one, they try to kind of reinvent the visual design of every character. Capcom games, not so much, maybe to a certain degree, but there's very few fighting games where you can do like a visual history and how many of these characters, you know, have changed throughout all the years and which ones kind of look the best. And luckily, series like Mortal Kombat and Tekken are pretty great for that. And we got a new Mortal Kombat, new Tekken game. So let's talk about easily one of the coolest ninjas in MK, personally speaking, which is Ermac. And Ermac, being the mystical magic ninja, is probably one of the most appealing characters in his first playable iteration, I think, which is Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. I believe the term error macro was first, I might have these games mixed up. The error macro meme first came from Mortal Kombat 2. However, Mortal Kombat 2 did not have Ermac as a playable character. They used that joke as a basis to make him a playable character, error macro, in Mortal Kombat 3 / UMK3. So that's where we have to go, and that's where our visual history begins. And luckily, you know, UMK3 is a pretty good game to base Ermac on because this character is hella good in this game. So Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 Ermac looks like this. And you might say, wait a minute, that's just the Reptile pose. Yes, hear me out, but he's red. But he's red. Like that's the really important part. They're either doing this thing or you're doing this thing in in Mortal Kombat 3, but he's red. So granted, Ermac and Reptile, both their iterations in this game, UMK3 ninja swap, like ninja palette swaps, are pretty intense here. So this is probably the most egregious I'd say, wait a minute, let's say Mortal Kombat Trilogy, which is just an extension of UMK3. They really knew this. Like here's the official artwork of Ermac, right? I believe this is actually the official artwork. And it looks no different than Scorpion or Sub-Zero or all the other assholes. Sorry, at the time Sub-Zero didn't have a mask. He looked like Henry Rollins. But there is definitely some cool shit to be beholden upon, because the way Ermac plays in this game is actually kind of sick. Some of the visual elements of him in this game, and like flipping to the other side of the screen, teleporting your ass up and down, like there's some really cool shit that Ermac does that I'm kind of a huge fan of. And I think he has some of the dopest looking combos in UMK3 in general. Damn. Yeah, the whole like grab your ass and lift you up, something that would pretty much remain from this point forward. He, once again, is a character that is kind of just a way better like Scorpion in many ways. He was, just speaking from experience back in the 90s when this game came out, Ermac was very popular, right? The red magic ninja guy, yes, as you can imagine, was ridiculously effing popular. So while I don't think this one is specifically original, we have a good basis to start off here. This is a straight 5 out of 10, right? Just because of the perspective we have here, this is a 5 out of 10, right in the middle. He's pretty sick, but, you know, he's pretty similar to all the other palette swap ninjas at the time. So let's move on. What the hell does Ermac even look like in Mortal Kombat 4? Wait a minute, he's not in MK4. I'm thinking of something else. I'm probably thinking of like Reiko or some shit. Never mind, I'll shut my ass up. I thought he eventually made it into a Mortal Kombat Gold of some kind. Did he not make it into an MK Gold or some shit? There's a promo for Mortal Kombat Gold which has Ermac in here. It appears that Ermac was about to be in Mortal Kombat Gold but never appeared in the game. Well, there you go. This is probably where my old brain is kicking in. Mortal Kombat Gold is kind of like a more enhanced version of MK4 with more stuff. Anyway, yeah, screw MK4. He's not even in it. Ermac in Mortal Kombat Deception, which I could have swore he had another iteration, which is kind of shocking that they went even a good chunk and period of time of him not showing up in another game, considering how popular he was in Mortal Kombat 3. But here's his next appearance in Mortal Kombat 5. And we're getting a bit closer to the wrapped around the head, right? Wraps around the head. Ninja Wizard. So he's looking a bit more wizard-like when he obviously is not just like a clone character. Super has some footage of Ermac and MK Deception. How interesting is he? He's got a really cool pose, right? An insanely cool pose. The neutral poses in some of the 3D games are absolutely hilarious. Does the gameplay stand up a bit? Do we actually get, right? You get the axe wielding attacks. You get all this crazy stuff. Does he really have Ermac like things? I think he does. Damn, that one arm spin though. So there's a slightly different one. Check this out. Slightly different. Excuse the paltry size. Where he sort of has a mask. This is also saying it's MK Deception, so this might be like an alternate outfit. But they're pretty similar, right? They are pretty similar. Yeah, his alt costume in this one is, it's all right. You know, this costume is all right. I'm not going to say it's incredible, but I think it has a little bit more effort put into it than the standard neutral-ass 5 out of 5 UMK3. I feel like I personally like UMK3, but you can't get me to defend the fact, oh, it's just all the other ninjas, but he's red. I think if we're going to start off with like a basis here that is an original design, let's go with a 6 out of 10 for Mortal Kombat Deception. It ain't that bad. Yeah, they really leaned in the idea of him having like powers and shit in this game. Does much change in Deadly Alliance? No, not really. Yeah, a lot of Deadly Alliance carries over some fairly similar design elements from the previous game. So yeah, I mean, it's not bad, right? It's very much just a higher quality version of what we have going on here. So I don't know, man. I still it's about like a 6 out of 10. This is actually Deception artwork. Even Google doesn't know how to differentiate the two. Ermac MK Deadly Alliance. He's not in Deadly Wait, he's not in Deadly Alliance? Jesus Christ! Our visual history of Ermac is going down the tube. This character's been in like half of the Mortal Kombat games. This poor bitch. And in MK Armageddon, it's kind of the same shit. So yeah, there hasn't been nearly as many representations of Ermac across the years as there has been like Reptile. Because here's Armageddon, and Armageddon was obviously like the asset dump game. So it's pretty similar, right? That shit is pretty fucking... It's pretty much the exact same thing. I think I feel the exact same way because it looks like he also gets the exact same friggin' costume. Man, these 3D era games are a bummer. Holy shit. Did his pants change? Ermac, did your pants change? No, you saw this crazy crystal on your feet and shit. Yeah, it's exactly the same. So the visual history of Ermac as it for the span of like 10 plus years is pretty much the same 2 costumes. And one is barely any effort and the other couple are pretty much from Mortal Kombat Deception. Oh man. Oh man. They changed his knee pads, yeah. Damn, buddy. Even Shaolin Monks Ermac is not that different. It's like very, very, very minor. I think we saw the same thing with Reptile, where the character representation in Shaolin Monks was like, was slightly different. Just a little different. I'm trying to think. It's like, man, was Ermac only really fucking super cool in UMK3 till he showed up in MK9? Was there that big of a jump of time where he actually wasn't in that many of these games? That's fucking wild to me. That is wild to me, where there was like that huge a jump of time where he's like super cool again, because he's pretty cool in MK9 and gets a lot of like pretty badass representation in that game. And then he's obviously turns a little bit worse than MKX, but his gameplay's amazing in MKX. Yeah, I'm feeling like this is about the same score as the previous ones. I'd personally hover around like a 6. If this is the Ermac we're talking about, that's wild to me that he really has not changed design nearly as much as Reptile. Nearly as much as Reptile. MK Annihilation Ermac, and he looks like this. It's pretty simple. He looks like this. And it's not terrible. It's actually not, here's the thing. It's actually not terrible. They gave him like full long sleeves on his arms, which is sort of cool. Sort of? Kinda? Maybe? I mean, this is not a flattering shot, much less the resolution of which. Yeah, he looks like a deck of cards. I like some parts of this costume, but ultimately it feels just like a palette swap sort of ninja situation again, right? I think this is like a 4. But I do kind of like the fact that, yeah, he's fully decorated because he has his big wizard lizard robe. You know, actually, this is a piece of fan art, it looks like. And this doesn't look that bad, right? This really doesn't look that bad, all things considered. He was always the skinny ninja guy. That's the way he's always been portrayed as. Anyway, this is a 4. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. He looks like a Power Ranger for the most part. So let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's get to the good shit. And this is probably where Ermac has historically looked the best. Mortal Kombat 9 Ermac. So this is MK9 Ermac's default. And again, like, not bad. It looks like they are, let's get rid of this. It looks like it is derivative of this stuff. They're still sticking to this, like, large baggy clothing version of an MK Ninja for the most part. It's not bad. I think it's okay. I think this one's arguably like a 7 out of 10. They're leaning into the magic a bit more, and I think it's a more concise design than this. Right? It looks a bit better than that. So I can give him some credit. Like, credit where credit's due. It's an okay design of Ermac. And then they gotta go and pull out the most fire-ass Ermac costume ever. They gotta go and pull out the dopest Ermac costume to ever exist. Holy friggin' moly, dude. Simplistic and great looking, right? Just what a magnificent costume. Arguably, geez, this is a render somebody took of the character model. Jesus, man. Yeah, wonderful. Still got the baggy clothing, still feels like he's a ninja, but he's a magic ninja. It is absolutely amazing. Arguably the best Ermac. There is for sure argument to be had there. I honestly might give this a 10, right? No shit. This might end up being a close to 10 out of 10 for me personally. I really, really, really dig this version of Ermac. This looks amazing, dude. Like, absolutely amazing. He looks like a Sith, yes. He looks obviously evil intent because that's sort of been his backstory for the most part. He sucks your soul, man. There was a couple other costumes in MK9, but again, they just look like the MK2 costumes, right? In the same way that we have like a palette swap ninja, and that's fine. It's like the most standard 5 out of 10 ever. Right now, we already have our 10 out of 10 material for Ermac, so this is already great. Now we got to move to Mortal Kombat X. And in Mortal Kombat X, somebody has the bright idea that we cannot see Ermac's beautiful nose and mouth. Where is Ermac's nose and or mouth? And someone was like, I got you, bro. I got you. Here it is. Here's his nose and his mouth. You were looking for both? I gave you both a nose and a mouth, and he's a creepy mummy under there. It's right here. This is what you've always wanted. And somebody out there was like, thank you so much for finally giving us Ermac's nose and Ermac's mouth. If this costume had the upper part sort of fixed, then this might actually be a fairly decent costume, right? It's not that bad. I think it's like a 7, maybe possibly an 8 out of 10. I think it definitely has some redeemable qualities to it. So I don't hate it, like aggressively dislike it. I think it's here's a good list of everything from MK Warehouse. I think it's okay, right? I think it's like legit okay. It's just the friggin' mask. I don't mind anything else that's going on. I don't mind the fact that he's wearing a dress. I don't mind any of that stuff. This is a cool silhouette for what looks like a space mummy ninja lizard wizard. So I'm cool with all that shit. It's just the stupid nose and the stupid mouth. I'm gonna give it an 8, right? Do you think it's a 5 out of 10? I mean, I can argue a 7, but I do not think it's a 5. I do not think it's that low. Here is a collection of the other few costumes that he's got from DeviantArt. Thanks, DeviantArt. And this one over here is like the bondage version of it, and I still don't like this one either. This one just comes across as like a worse version of like this. So the bondage version of it, which is this alternate 2 right here, not great, bro. I think this one's like down to like maybe a 4. I really don't personally like this one over this one. I give this one like a 4. I give this one like an 8. Since when is 8 okay? 8 is okay. It's a B. The couple over here, here's the one that I think most Ermac players actually use, which is the multi-ninja palette swap stuff. UMK3 looks okay. MK, like the figure model, looks okay. So between these two, I think they're both like fine. They're like 6s. And then you have like the Pharaoh Sphinx. He actually is a mummy guy, right? I am just a mummy man. And I think my argument against all of these is that I think the default one still maybe looks the best outside of the stupid face. And then you have what is possibly the worst rendition of UMK3 costumes. I really don't like the way any of the UMK3 costumes look in MKX. So that's kind of like, you know, rough about this. And this one's just obviously the same thing, just palette flip for everybody. And I don't like this one either, man. I think this is like another 5 out of 10. I get it. It's an alternate costume. It's going after horror things. But still, I don't know, man. I don't know. So MKX had a lot of different Ermacs in it. None of them really ever truly met their potential in any way that was close to this. And I remember back in 2015, we were still having this conversation about Ermac in Mortal Kombat X, hoping that he was going to eventually have some kind of MK9 costume that comes back. Somehow, that didn't happen. And now here we are again, hoping for the exact same thing several years later. More importantly, let's look at this up. Hold on a second. MK9 Ermac combos. This is also an important part of it. Let's look up Ermac combos to see how cool they look. How cool does Ermac combos look in this game? Okay, they're kind of sick, right? In the same way that they have pretty dope elements in Mortal Kombat 10, there's some kind of cool shit here. All the teleporting and all this stuff, 58%, goddamn. Yeah. Yeah. It's got corner loops as well. Yeah. It's pretty sick, man. This feels like a natural extension of his gameplay that was also in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. So, yeah, this is dope. You know what? I'm gonna say it right now. I'm gonna say probably the best iteration of Ermac, just in general, is Mortal Kombat 9, right? In terms of visual execution, in terms of like gameplay and all of that stuff, I think MK9 probably hits the nail on the head of the best looking Ermac with the dopest gameplay. Probably followed up closely between MKX and UMK3, but let's look at MKX. MKX Ermac combos. Hopefully it doesn't bring up my videos. What was this damn music? Yeah, Master of Souls is definitely the one where you want to like you get some crazy combo video shit. What the hell was that? What was this setup? Why was I being visited by God halfway through? Blanche missed. What is this combo video? This shit's crazy. Oh, Spectral Ermac gets some really dope combos. That's right. Yeah, Mystic gets some better utility. It's probably the most powerful version of Ermac, but Spectral Ermac gets some crazy, like, floating crazy, like, you just get Mortal Kombat chain combos. I'm sorry, Marvel vs. Capcom chain combos when he's floating. It's really cool. Granted, if you don't know what's going on, it maybe doesn't look as spectacular. But I think I personally like the gameplay of Ermac and MKX maybe the most. But I think it could go to Mortal Kombat 9 in total. So, Mortal Kombat X Ermac, I have a varying degree of ratings across all of these, but I think overall, I'll give it an 8. Right? Let's give some of these funky Ermac designs, this one, and then his gameplay, his visuals, probably an 8 out of 10 in MKX. It's pretty good. Too much focus on his lips and his nose. And then we have the most disturbing version of Ermac to ever show up. The most upsetting and disturbing version of Mortal Kombat to ever exist. Let's get this beautiful cutscene of Ermac in MK11. Avert your eyes for everybody that's looking. Ow. And there he is. And that's all you get. He's fine, by the way. He actually lives through this because he's in Mortal Kombat 1. So don't worry, YouTube. That's all there is of him. That's it. He's just murdered in a story mode sequence. And guess what? This is what he looked like. This was his design. Slight differences here, right? Some slight differences here, but still like relatively similar. Possibly one of the biggest injustices ever. Possibly one of the biggest injustices ever in NRS history is that we got robbed of the dopest looking Ermac costume ever because he was thrown off of a bridge and died. It's a bit busy, don't get me wrong. It's a bit busy, but it's cool as shit, bro. Here's the design taken directly from the game. Here's the model taken directly from the game. Good goddamn, dude. And it's just upsetting because it's a 10 out of 10. In my opinion, it 100% is a 10 out of 10. However, that would not be the only time Ermac would show up in Mortal Kombat 11. There would also be this, which is an MK2 style Shang Tsung costume that he has during some of his special moves. And yeah, I think we all have seen this a few times with Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat 11. And this doesn't look bad. This looks better than MK9, MK2 costumes, in my opinion. But yeah, this one still hurts, right? This is actually still painful. NRS, if you want to, I'm just going to throw it out there. If you want to just clear the air, and because this shit was trending, right? The entire reason we did a visual history on Reptile is because Reptile got to a point where he went through some really crazy, goofy, and nutty transformations. Now he's the best he's ever been. Ermac has gone through some relative changes and transformations over time, but for some reason now he looks worse than he ever has. What I'm saying is there's a way to alleviate this. If you're going to release alternate costumes for characters or something like that, yeah, Ermac is the polar opposite. This is how you do it. This is what people are looking for. If you made this costume, the same goddamn costume that was in Mortal Kombat 11, and just put it in MK1, people would be jacked. People would be thrilled. People would be excited. They'd be over the moon. How many more phrases could I use to describe it? It is an infinite source of revenue. You could charge $20 for that costume. People would be writhing in the streets, pissed and upset because they have to spend that money. You greedy bastards. How dare you make us fix Ermac by charging $20 for it? How could you Capcom us like a Turtles costume? Granted, they shouldn't do that. There should just be an alternate costume for Ermac that's $5 and it's this, and you can fix his stupid mummy face. And that brings us to the modern day. And I can't believe we're here talking about this again, but it needs to be spoken about. We just need to talk. Did they make him uglier? Is this a Photoshop? No, that's how he fucking looks. Huh. That's a good one. Bitch looked like he just walked out of Area 51. and they said, you can continue to your tournament, sir. Bitch just walked out of Area 51. He looks like E.T. He looks like E.T. and a California raisin fucked and got some magic powers. I really, really, really don't like this shit. And I am arguing that looking back at all the other versions of Ermac that are present, that it's worse than this, it's worse than that, it's worse than this, it's worse than that, it's way worse than this, it's significantly worse than that, it's way worse than this, it's worse than that, yeah, whoa, it's worse than that, it's worse than that, it's way worse than that, it's potentially worse than any of these? I don't know, maybe not, maybe the Sphinx one, maybe, I don't like the bondage one too much, maybe comparable, right? Maybe comparable to a couple of these. And not as, I don't think it's as bad as his default MK9 costume. He looks like a significantly less cool version of his MKX costume. And I think that's where my gripe is. We're just gonna take MKX Ermac and make him look bad, right? It's actually the worst he's ever looked. The only thing is that I'll give him not a 1 out of 10, I'll give him a 2. He gets a 2 out of 10 because the easy fix is the thing we showed off before, which is the mask. You just adding a mask of some kind would do a lot. He no longer has mummy rags all over his body, which is a good thing to move away from. But still, now we just have his crusty sarcophagus in front of our face. So yeah, I'm gonna say MK1 Ermac's actually the worst one. And we have a direct comparison of a character that has gone through some wild iterations and is now the best they've ever looked, which is Reptile. And today, for the other Mortal Kombat ninja that has gone through a fairly decent chunk of transformations over the time, being one of the coolest looking characters in Mortal Kombat to suddenly one of the worst. And that is disappointing. Please, dear God, give us this costume or give us this costume and the entire problem is fixed. It was trending on Twitter, dude. Like, no shit. It was literally trending on Twitter. Ermac's costume or something like that. Ermac was trending on Twitter when the trailer came out. It was crazy. A lot of people were like, what the hell? What the fuck?